Alright, everybody, hello. Welcome back to another one of our Pokemon quizzes by Adept Sharon. You've seen me horaciously fail on Generations 1, 2, and 3. I'm hoping Generation 4 can help breathe some new light into this, and we're going to see how well we can do this time, at least. So, let's just go ahead. So, Gen 4, I probably haven't played in a long time. It's not my favorite because just in terms of gameplay wise, you kind of only have the option to play Platinum. Just because, like, the variety of Pokemon you're able to use is just not good, in all honesty. Like, for example, in Diamond and Pearl, you were only really able to use, God, how many? Two fire types? And one of them was Chimchar, and the other was Ponyta. Chimchar did not even really count, because if you didn't pick Chimchar, you were screwed. Because Ponyta evolves at level 40, and Ponyta does not have the best stats to be doing all of that, especially with that late of an evolution level. However, I do think that this game, just in general, this generation had some really good, long-lasting Pokemon that a lot of people know. Best examples what I'm typing in right now, that being the Shinx line, and even the Starly line. And then it also had some really weird Pokemon like Kricketot and Kricketune. But moving on from that, Gen 4 also had its own landmark in a way. Like, most notable thing, it is the only generation to introduce both a pre-evolution and an evolution. That being for Roselia, we get Budu, it's pre-evolution, and then we also get its evolution Roserade rather. So that's something kind of cool. Also, we've seen additions added to existing Pokemon like Espeon and Umbreon for Eevee. They kind of continue this trend. It's like they do it mainly through learning moves and also trading with held items. Best examples would probably going to be Magmortar, Electivire, and then Rhyperior. Each of these need to have a held item respectively in order to evolve. Some of them need locations. It's really only one of them, which is Probopass. That's a lie. Actually, you need Magnezone too. He counts. He needs an evolution. A lot of them need to learn moves while leveling up. Best example would be Licky, Tangrowth, if I could spell it right. Okay, Yanmega, and Mamoswine. Those are just a few. I'm definitely forgetting some. Some just had stone evolutions, like the previously mentioned Roserade and Togekiss, actually both with shiny stones. And then a lot of Pokemon ended up evolving through friendship. Best one, probably fan favorite, Lucario. And then, even like Happiny evolved through friendship. And going back to learning moves, Pokemon like Mime Jr. and Bonsly had to learn moves in order to evolve. Ambipom from Apom. I can't spell it. Ambipom. Also, the addition of Honeytrees also introduced new ways to find Pokemon instead of headbutting them like Munchlax. Once again, not spelling it right. Even older Pokemon like Heracross, I believe, could show up in the trees, most notably being a very annoying Pokemon the shiny hunt, which is Combee, because it only evolves when it's female, but the female is incredibly rare. We also saw a very weird mechanic with the Pokemon Rotom. Now, as you'll see here, it kind of cycles through different forms. However, that wasn't really until Platinum or Gen 5, I believe, which let it change its form to whatever appliance you gave it. As you can see, there's a washing machine, there's a lawnmower, there's an oven, and a fridge. So that's another kind of weird thing about it. Now, moving on to the legendaries, I feel like design-wise, these are like, they're not basic, but they're okay. Giratina is definitely a standout. It's the Pokemon Devil as opposed to the Pokemon Guard Arceus, which is undoubtedly a very cool Pokemon. But Dialga and Palkia, like, at least for me, they're just kind of there. Same thing for Cresselia. it's kind of forgettable. Darkrai is just notable for how good it was in competitive. Furthermore, we also had Shaman, which was kind of notable. Also, Regigigas. Wait, hold on, Regigigas. Only because of its ability slow start, kind of hindering everything good about it. We saw even more evolutions with Pokemon like Frostlass and Weavile, even Gliscor. All those are held evolutions during a certain time of day. In this case, the Razorclaw and Razorfang at nighttime for both of them, respectively. But moving on to newer Pokemon, I feel like we also had some very weak Pokemon. Most notably Lumineon, if I can spell it right. And then also Finneon, because no one remembers them. I somehow do, only because no one remembers them. But, God, this is where my brain kind of starts to fart. More baby Pokemon in Chingling. That's another good one. With Bonsly, Mime Jr., and Happiny. We have another really weird rare Pokemon to get, which is Cherubi. And its evolved form, Cherim. Also, Burmy and Wormadam, which changed depending on where you found it, I believe. I don't know if that's... Yeah, they have different cloaks, being, I think it's the Trash Cloak, the Leaf Cloak, and the... I already forgot, the Sand Cloak. So, those are pretty interesting, to say the least. Now, this Pokemon in between Dialga and Palkia, I want to say it might be Heatran. It's not Heatran. Heatran's probably next to Cresselia. Oh, no, I was wrong. It's there. Oh, God, what other Pokemon do we have? Oh, yeah, we have Shellos and Weasel. Two really cool designs for water types. I think Shellos is really cool, and so is its evolved form Gastrodon. Just because it has two different forms depending on what side of the region you find it on. I personally like the blue form. But I've seen cases made for both forms on why they're actually pretty cool. Let's see, what else do we... Another weird one is Pachirisu. They're kind of just there. They're not very useful, mind you. Oh, how could we forget the infamous Pokemon Ranger Pokemon? This time being Fion and Manaphy. The Pokemon Ranger egg is probably one of the hardest things to find nowadays. So that's why I'd say they're notable. At least in some regard. And like I think we've gotten most of the mythicals and the legendaries. Now it's just the Pokemon in general. Like Bronzor and Bronzong. Like they're kind of just there. Like I've never met a Bronzor fan or a Bronzong fan. I just don't like them because I found they're shiny. Like as a duplicate in Pokemon Go, and like, oh, this is the worst feeling ever. Out of 1,025 Pokemon or however many, that's the one I get a duplicate of. Like it's just like, oh, it really, really annoys me. Speaking of being annoying, we have Glameow and Purugly. We all know Mars has a very annoying Purugly. That also moves us on to Jupiter with her Skuntank. I always forget how to spell it. It's spelled like skunk. And then we also move on to Saturn, who has one of my favorite Pokemon of all time, that being Croagunk and its evolution Toxicroak. Cyrus is also really cool, as he has another one of my favorites, a Honchkrow. It's with a K. And then gym leaders, they kind of did something weird with the gym leaders, that moving Fantina from the 3rd badge to the 5th badge, depending on what generation you were playing, or not generation, game. Her ace here was Mismagius. And then also they had a weird encounter with Drifloon, only appearing on Fridays in front of the Valley Windworks, which, as we know, we get Drifblim. We also had to talk about the Hippopotas and Hippowdon. I know they would... Oh, it's like that. Okay. Spiritomb was also a notable Pokemon that was very hard to get. And Chatot stood out as a very weird one. Spiritomb was really weird. You had to connect with people online underground, which was really hard to do back when these games came out. I think that was 2006, 2008, around then. So it's another really good Pokemon, really weird Pokemon. Moving into the Champions team, we have the Middle Evolution Gabite, and as we all know, Cynthia's Garchomp and Gible. That also gives us another one of the Pokemon. Not Milotic, I don't know why I said that. I lied. We have some Safari Zone Pokemon like Carnivine, another one that really is kind of just there. Like, I've never seen anyone just be like, I love Carnivine. But we also have Pokemon like, if I can spell it right, Drapion and Skullroopy. Shout out Aaron. He uses them, and they're pretty cool to say the least. Might I add? Now I'm just trying to figure out what is in this top row here. God, that's really gonna bother me. Oh God, now this is the part where I have a lot to say, but I don't have memory of the Pokemon to talk about them. Who am I missing? I'm missing a lot of people, I'd say. We'll get to it. Okay, moving back on the Pokemon that I really just don't know. That's a great question, because I forgot. So, although there was a lot of new Pokemon introduced, a lot of one-off new Pokemon were introduced. We've talked about Gliscor, Mamoswine, even Probopass. They're kind of just like there. And speaking of Pokemon that are there but not there at the same time, we have Lopunny. Everyone knows who Lopunny is, sadly. But we even have Pokemon like Baniri. But then we also have some of the cooler designs like Glaceon and Leafeon, if I can spell it right. But other than that, I really can't remember any other Pokemon from Gen 4, so I guess this one's also a bust. I forgot the fossils, I forgot the Lake Trio, and I forgot Dusknoir. So I'm hoping that with Gen 5 we'll fare a little bit better, but we'll have to see.